Welcome back everybody, it's your boy coming at you with a top list of games to look forward to in June. We have, well, at least one really heavy hitter coming out in June that everyone needs to be excited for. But what else do we have coming out for the month of June? Well, let's dive in and take a look together at the top 8 games coming out on the PlayStation 4 for the month of June 2020. Let's all dive in together and take a look. So going in order through June of when these games are coming out, the first game we have to look forward to this month is a little game called Little Town Hero. Now Little Town Hero is launching on the PlayStation 4 in North America and Europe on the 5th of June 2020. And the interesting thing about this one is that it's an RPG made by Game Freak, which are the developer who traditionally make all the Pokemon RPG games. In fact, it is the developer that's made every Pokemon mainline RPG game, and this is their first non-Pokemon RPG. Now, that's not the only thing that's interesting about it, but it's also the fact that it's releasing on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC as well, rather than just a Nintendo console. Little Town Hero has a simplistic battle system and is an RPG aimed at younger players, kind of like the Pokemon games, keeping things a little bit more simple compared to some of the more complicated RPGs. It uses a turn-based battle system which takes place basically in an entire village or a little town. You have to play through the village kind of like a board game, think Mario Party, and strategically move around the map, doing different quests for people and battling different enemies. The battle system, while it is an RPG, it does have this sort of energy attack system, and it kind of works a little bit like Hearthstone, where you need to really do a bit of math to figure out whether your attacks are going to be more powerful than the enemy's attacks. And then it's kind of this number rock paper scissors system where if your number is higher than the enemy's number, then you kind of win, and then best out of 3 means you can take health points off the enemy. Again, the math side of things is a little bit complicated, but in terms of RPG systems, it's a really straightforward system, and something cool for younger players to maybe sink their teeth into. The monsters look super creative like all Game Freak RPGs, and looks like they've definitely taken some inspiration from their days working on the Pokemon games. Next up for June, we have a game called Beyond Blue. This one's launching on the 11th of June, and it is made by the same developers who worked on the PS4 and Xbox One title Never Alone. You might remember that one from a couple of years ago with the little girl in the Arctic and the fox. It was a really cool little indie title, and this is their follow-up to that game. Inspired by and featuring content from BBC Nature Studios, specifically the documentary Blue Planet 2, this game is a ocean diving game. Your goal is that you're an ocean diver searching the ocean to save marine life, and it really does focus a lot on exploration, but narrative as well, and there is apparently quite an extensive story. Throughout the game you'll discover a range of different marine animals, and you need to document them and research them to find out more information. There's also sections where you control a submarine and you need to go back to the submarine to analyze different samples that you take from the animals and the marine life that you're out researching. The game honestly gives me some pretty massive Endless Ocean vibes, if you guys remember that one. From the developer themselves, they say players will explore diverse environments from sun-dappled oasis like atolls down through the gauzy blue twilight zone where only the faintest amount of light reaches, to the midnight of the Absol zone where a rarely seen creature produce their own light in an environment otherwise devoid of light. The game features 8 unique dives where players will use advanced technology to document the different species they encounter, track the changes to the ecosystem, and unravel the mystery of a pod of whales that have experienced a brand new addition to their family. Coming out just the day after, on June 12th, is Warborn. Now, if you guys like turn-based tactical RPGs, then this is for you. This is an anime-style RPG, and it reminds me a ton of Advanced Wars, if you guys remember that one on the GBA. Players will be able to choose from a range of 4 commanders, each representing a different faction with their own unique powers, traits, and abilities. But at the heart of this game, you need to think tactically, moving your units carefully, and putting them in positions where you can attack your enemies. There's over 40 missions in this game, and there is a multiplayer mode as well, so there's definitely a ton of content in here to keep you occupied throughout the game. The developer's little blurb for the game says, deploy for battle in the Variable Armor, a technologically advanced suit of war with turn-based tactics and quick-fire clashes. Lead a strike force of deadly mech to bring peace to the solar system in a 40-mission campaign. Create your own maps, practice in skirmish, or battle across multiplayer. So another really neat one coming out in June. Now the 4th game we have coming out this month is Disintegration. Disintegration launches on the 16th of June. Disintegration is a first-person real-time strategy hybrid game where you're both shooting in first person but also controlling troops at the same time. And I think the thing that makes this one really interesting is it's from a developer called V1 Interactive, a small indie developer who was founded by Marcus Leto, the creator of the original Halo game. Disintegration is set in this sci-fi universe on a near-future planet Earth, where the only hope for human survival is through integration, a process developed to preserve humans' brains in robotic armatures. You play as a character called Roma Scholl, who's a grav cycle pilot commanding a small resistance of humans who are reluctant to turn to this new world. The game originally made me think it looked a lot like Titanfall, controlling mechs and things like that, but the game takes place on this vehicle called the grav cycle, and that's kind of what you can see in all the gameplay with the different cannons and guns and things hanging out the side. The grav cycle allows the player to shoot in first person and attack enemies and things like that, but also as the main character, you're commanding your different troops and team members to go and battle alongside you, and you've kind of got like that assistance. So it's almost like a first person with escort, but you're kind of controlling the escorts. Also coming out on June 16th is Desperados III. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'd never heard of the Desperados series, but apparently it's a long-running series of tactical RPG Western games. So this game is coming out 14 years after Desperados 2, which is pretty incredible for a game like this. It's a tactical Western RPG, or a real-time Western RPG is probably a better way of putting it, developed by developer Me Games. They describe the game as a story-driven, hardcore tactical stealth game set in the ruthless Wild West. You play as 5 different characters, each with a particular skill set, and as you can see in the trailer, each of the different characters is kind of attacking each other. You get to experience true freedom of choice with countless different ways to overcome obstacles, so you do have a ton of flexibility in how you defeat your enemies and you take down different situations. There are a ton of different locations, all set in the Old West, including frontier towns, swamps, modern cities, and many, many more to discover. And you can choose between a combination of heavy and loud attacks, or more stealthy and quiet attacks. And the developer promises that there are different playstyles in here to better suit different players who like to play games in different ways. I'm a sucker for Western games like this, and the trailer makes this one look super, super cool. I don't know what it is about this, but for some reason I'm just an absolute sucker for it. I'm not a fan of RTS games or anything like that, but this one definitely speaks to me in some sort of weird way, and I think I'm gonna check this one out. Number 6 this month is Ys Memory of Salsa. I know this one looks kind of weird. The Y is actually pronounced Ys. I don't know. I've always pronounced it Ys. I'm not sure why, and I don't know which way is actually the correct way. Everyone seems to pronounce it slightly differently. But this game coming out on June the 19th. This is actually a remaster of a game that came out on the PlayStation Vita back in 2013, or might have been 2012 even, and essentially a JRPG, or a pretty hardcore JRPG. Remastered edition of the game will now be in 60 frames per second. It will have high definition graphics and re-optimized controls for the PS4. However, it's still going to have it will utilize the touch bar to retain some of the touchscreen controls that the Vita version had. The game also features dual audio, so you can play the game through in Japanese or English, depending on what your preference is. The gameplay in this game is pretty similar to other JRPGs or action JRPGs of the like. And if you've played an Ys game in the past, then you'll know exactly what you're in for with this one. But it's cool that we're seeing a remaster of, I guess, one of the more popular Vita JRPGs coming to PS4 and getting a second wind on PS4. Now, up to the one that everyone is looking forward to, June 19th is The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 is the long-awaited Naughty Dog sequel to their original game, The Last of Us. This one is set 5 years after the original game, and you take on the role of Ellie as she seeks out revenge for those who have wronged her in her past. And that's really all we know about the game up until now. It looks like Naughty Dog's improved on almost everything from the original, from the sound design to the gameplay, with a whole bunch of new gameplay mechanics featured in some of the trailers they've shown recently. One of the things that really appeals to me is how they've kind of doubled down on stealth this time around and given you more options to be stealthy. It looks like you can now crouch and go prone in the game, which is something you couldn't do in the previous one. You see Ellie kind of hiding under cars and under grass and things like that, meaning you can take on situations in much more stealthy and creative ways, and I think that's a really, really cool thing. Naughty Dog's giving the player more agency on how they want to tackle particular situations, which I think is really, really cool. And we all know that The Last of Us Part 1 kind of ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so it's going to be interesting to see how that cliffhanger gets picked up in The Last of Us Part 2. And last but absolutely not least, on the 25th of June this month, we have SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Now this is it's not even a remaster, this is a full remake of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom on PlayStation 2. This one came out over a decade ago and is a classic 3D mascot platformer of that era. I used to love this game when I was a little kid. It was fantastic. You could play as all the main characters, SpongeBob, Sandy, and Patrick. It was just amazing. It was an awesome game. And it's great to see this game coming over to PS4. The developers have seemingly put in a ton of love and care into this port. Well, not even port, remaster, not even a remake of this game, featuring a ton of new content, and they've specifically pulled content that was cut by the original developer on the PS2 and added it into this game, which I think is just super cool, and not enough remakes do that. So it's cool to see them go ahead and do that. They've also added a multiplayer mode, a co-op mode into the game, so you can play that as well, and who knows what that's going to look like yet. But the other thing that's really cool about this is that the developers have gone in and talked to different people in the community who care about the original game. Primarily at the moment that's speedrunners, and they've gone in and made sure that a ton of the glitches that speedrunners used in that game still exist in this game as well. Even if they're kind of broken and they kind of break things in the game, they've gone ahead and added them in or left them in the game rather than fixing them, because they're meaningful to that community who really adores this game. And I think that's really the pinnacle of what a developer can do when they listen to their community and they look at who's playing the games and who's enjoying their games, and they go and take that advice and incorporate them into a remake like this. So I think kudos to the developer for doing that. I know they're a relatively unknown, smaller developer that THQ kind of farmed this out to, but it seems like they've done a really, really solid job, and I think in the long term this will probably pay off for them as well. But there you have it, guys. That is 8 brand new PlayStation 4 games that are coming to PS4 for the month of June. Let me know which ones you're going to be playing, which ones you're excited for. I know there's definitely one big game in this list, like I mentioned. You know, there are a couple of other smaller titles here that I think are worth checking out as well. Me personally, I'm really excited for the Spongebob remake. Obviously, I'm excited for Last of Us Part 2 as well, but Spongebob definitely had a special place in my heart, and it's bringing a lot of old 10-year-old Josh vibes back, and I can't wait to play that game again. I'm also really intrigued by Beyond Blue. It feels like a really nice, short, tight experience, and potentially that means easy trophies as well. So who knows about that one, but we'll know more in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Which games are you going to be checking out from this month? Any from this list, or is there anything I missed that is going to be super awesome this month as well that's worth checking out? Let the community know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, why are you not subscribed yet? Make sure you go and hit that subscribe button and join the Platinum Trophy Army and enjoy all the new content that's coming out for June. Alright guys, that's all from me. Until next time.